And today I'm feeling a little control-y, you know what I mean? So we've got Dirty Erdy, what a name. The Bureau of Control deck, his commander is Tivit, Seller of Secrets. If you don't know what Tivit is, it's 3, a white and a blue and a black for a 6/6 flying ward 3. I love the ward on the new big creatures. I love how they're doing that. I think it's a great idea. Council's Dilemma. Whenever Tivit enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, starting with you, each player votes for evidence or bribery. For each evidence vote, investigate. For each bribery vote, create a token. While voting, you may vote an additional time. Ooh. That's cool. You're going to make a bunch of treasures and a bunch of clues. This seems really cool. Okay, so the name of the deck is Bureau of Control. Let's see what his little sum up of the deck is here. So he says, "Hi, I'm kind of a full flavor freak. I need all of my decks to feel thematically consistent and refuse to put in strictly better cards sometimes because they break flavor." That's honorable as hell. I respect that. Hold on, burps in chat. Hold on, we're brewing one up. Maybe like a 6, 7. I have a bunch I'm currently designing, but this one is probably my strongest. It's classic bureaucratic control. I'm honestly working on branching half of it off as a Mardu Assassins deck. Oh, interesting. Led by Marchesa to represent the seedy underbelly of the city. But this Esper one is classic control with advisors, detectives, and anything flavorful to fit in. Very cool. So I want to reread that one part because I'm honestly working on branching half of it off as a Mardu Assassins deck led by Marchesa. So are you thinking about taking this apart and just building a Marchesa, or do you want this deck and a Marchesa deck to like represent both sides of the city? It's really cool. But this Esper one is classic control with advisors, detectives, and anything flavorful that'll fit. And then whoops, I guess I should say I have a few win cons. Mechanized production, super cool. Approach of the Second Sun, and Bolus's Citadel. Aside from that, I feel like it probably speaks for itself, LOL. Alright, so let's get into this. Let's see what we got with this Bureau of Control deck. And please let me know if my voice is too loud, not loud enough, anything like that. Hey, Horny Badger. I am doing fine today. How are you doing? I am doing A-O freaking gay. I've got a pretty funny upload for you guys. Coming Sunday, I think. So watch out for that. I actually really like it. I think it's a funny video. Okay, so let's get into this Tivit deck. So we went over Tivit. His whole thing is that he's a big 6/6 flying ward 3 that you're trying to enter the battlefield or deal combat damage with, so that you can initiate a council vote. And then you'll get a bunch of treasures and or clues off the council vote. And every time you vote, you get to vote an additional time. So I'm sure he runs a bunch of the cards that allow you to vote, which is awesome. So I'm pumped to see what this is. Let's get into it. We've got the creatures first. Of course, like this was the first creature that popped into my head when I read the commander. Academy Manufacturer is 3 colorless for a 1/3. If you would create a food or if you create a clue, food, or treasure token, instead create one of each. So it doesn't matter how they vote. You're just going to get... If you're in a 4-player match, plus you get an additional vote, you're going to get 5 treasures, 5 foods, and 5 clues every time your commander triggers. So Academy Manufacturer is a must in this. This has to be ran in here. Let me pull up my chat really quick. There we go. How are you doing, Horny Badger? If I didn't ask. Arcane Investigator. 1 and a blue for a 2/1. I like it. You got a bunch of investigators, Academy Manufacturers. It feels like you have like... And I don't know if this is the vibe you're going for. It almost feels like Tivit is like a leader of like a syndicate, not even a crime syndicate, but more of like an investigation syndicate. And like he's like in this giant like cathedral, and he's got all these like underlings that like work for him. So he's sending out like arcane investigators, and he's got like an Academy Manufacturer back at the cathedral that like works beside him to like get more clues and more information out of stuff. It's really cool. I actually really do like this. Arcane Investigators, 1 and a blue for a 2/1. You can pay 5 and a blue, roll a d20. If you get 1 through 9, draw a card. If you get 10 through 20, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, the rest at the bottom. Not the best card, but again, it's an investigator. Daring Apprentice, 1 and 2 blue for a 1/1. Tap it, sacrifice Daring Apprentice, counter target spell. Again, this gives that feeling of that he has these underlings that are like willing to like sacrifice themselves to like get on his good side. You know what I mean? It's like Tivit's the big dog, and they're all like, we're gonna like work our way up this chain and try to get like into the highest positions of power we can get into. So it's cool to have stuff like this that's willing to literally sacrifice themselves for the cause. And it's removal, so that's awesome. Daring Sleuth, 1 and a blue for a 2/1. When you sacrifice a clue, transform it. We'll do that plenty of times. And then Bearer of Overwhelming Truths. Prowess, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, investigate. That's exactly what we want. It's doing the same thing your commander's doing. Denic Pious Apprentice. Ooh, that's funny. Huh. It's got like a little piece of my name in it, which is weird. Blue and a white for a 2/3. Lifelink. Cards in graveyard can't be the target of spells or abilities, and then it has Disturb, where you can play it out of your graveyard flipped for Denic Pious Apparition. Flying, when 1 or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, investigate. This ability triggers only once each turn. If Denic Apparition will be put into the graveyard, sack or exile it. Ooh. Denic seems great. Diplomatic Escort. 1 and a blue for a 1/1. You can pay 1 blue, tap it, discard a card from your hand, counter target spell or ability that targets a creature. That seems like a good card, actually. I'm going to save that. Dogged Detective. I like that. Dogged is right, right? It's not dodged. Or something. I'm not like mispronouncing it. I feel like I might be. When Dogged Detective enters the battlefield, surveil 2. When an opponent draws their second card each turn, you may return Dogged Detective from your graveyard to your hand. He's kind of cool. I don't mind him. I think he's actually kind of cool in Aristocrat decks, actually. He keeps coming back, and in Aristocrat, I feel like we have a lot of ways to draw extra stuff with, like, Morbid Opportunists and stuff. So that actually seems great. Draineth Magistrate, a classic. 1 and a white for a 1/3. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hand. There's some control stuff coming in. Droning Bureaucrats, love it. 3 and a white for a 1/4. Pay X, tap it. Each creature you control converted mana cost X or less can't attack or block this turn. Or not you control, sorry. Just any creature can attack or block this turn. That seems fine. It seems really good, actually, to get Tivit through. Eloise is a must. Eloise seems so good in this list. 3 a blue and a black for a 4/4. Whenever another creature you control dies, investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a token, surveil 1. Yeah. She's a very good card. Esper Sentinel, 1 white for a 1/1. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. Esper Sentinel's just a good card, and it fits like the Esper kind of Syndicate vibe. Geode Golem, 5 colorless for a 5/3 trample. When Geode Golem deals combat damage to a player, you may cast your commander from your command zone without paying its mana cost. You still pay any additional mana cost. Oh. Wait. On Geode Golem, you still pay additional mana cost? So does that count as, like, commander tax? No way that counts commander tax, because this is, like, I hate Geode Golem if it counts commander tax. Hold on. I gotta look this up. As Geode Golem says, you still have to pay any additional cost. The commander tax is an additional cost. Ooh, yeah. Not a fan of that card. Yeah, don't like Geode Golem at all. And flavor-wise, I'm not really a huge fan of it in here either. It's like the only card so far that I've seen where I'm like, I don't know if that's really a part of the flavor of the deck. And the fact you have to pay for your command tax still? Get out of here, Geode Golem, huh? I thought that was the whole point, was like you're paying 5 mana for a thing that has to hit 2. And then you're like, you get to cast your commander. Sick. I'll jump through 2 huge hoops to maybe get to cast my commander for free. No, you still have to pay tax. No. Grand Arbiter Augustine is right on flavor. 2 and a white and a blue for a 2/3. White spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Blue spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast. Yeah, Grand Arbiter is nasty. It is a very good card. Inquisitor Greyfax is a new one out of the Warhammer decks. 1 a white, a blue, and a black for a 3/3 Vigilance. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 and have Vigilance. Hunt for Heresy. 1 and tap it. Target creature and opponent controls. Investigate. This fits the theme of the deck perfect. Ooh, so does this. Jacob Hawken, Inspector. 1 and a blue for a 0/2. Tap it, draw a card, then exile a card from your hand face down. You may look at that card for as long as it remains exiled. You may pay 4 and 2 blue. If you do, transform Jacob into Hawken's Insight, a legendary enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library face down. You may look at that card for as long as it remains exiled. Where were we? We were at Jacob, the backside of Jacob. Were we? Yeah, we were on the backside of Jacob. So the second half of the backside of him. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land card or cast a spell from among these cards, exiled with this permanent without paying its mana cost. So it's kind of like a Peer into the Multiverse or whatever that new card is, just like with more steps. Not a bad card, though. I'm actually going to save that. That's actually kind of strong. Master of Ceremonies. 3 and a white for a 3/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent chooses money, friends, or secrets. Oh, man. For each player who chooses money, you and that player each create a treasure token. For each player who chooses friends, you and that player each create a 1/1 white and green citizen creature token. For each player who chooses secrets, you and that player each draw a card. This is cool. So I have a question for you. Dirty Erdy. When you play this deck, so where's that card we were just looking at? Master of Ceremonies. So when you play this deck, can you feel people at the table, like, judging other people for their votes, like, and then playing differently for the rest of the game because of it? Even though, even if it doesn't have that big of a, like, impact on the game. So, like, the wording on this one's funny, because your 3 choices are money, let's see, money, secrets, and friends. So it's like you can pick friends, and then that's clearly the one that'll, like, associate in people's heads as, like, the kind one. It's like he picked friends instead of money and secrets. Can you see people at the table, like, when they pick money? Like, can you see other people at the table, like, that son of a bitch picked money? Are you kidding me? You're not going to pick friends? Even though it doesn't really have that much of an impact on what's happening. Just the name of the voting that they're casting. I don't know if that makes sense. Do you notice, like, people's, like, whole, like, mental shift in the game when they vote a certain way? Because that seems like a very fun aspect of this deck that, like, no other deck gets to tap into. Because there's political decks, but, like, the voting system, I feel like, kind of taps into a whole different part. Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to make a deal with somebody or trying to get political without, like, making them vote, anyone can just be like, you know what, I think it's too early in the game, I don't feel like getting political. It's too late in the game, I don't feel like getting political. I don't know where I'm at in the game. Anyone can just, like, say, I don't want to be political right now, and not be viewed as the enemy. If you force them to vote, they have to pick something. So it's really interesting. It's almost like a gun to the head. Like, you're also going to be political if you like it or not, which is really funny. It's like a political deck that forces others to play politically, which I really like. Master of Ceremonies is awesome, by the way. That's a super cool card. Machiko Kanda, Truth Seeker. Let me make sure I'm looking okay here still, because I could totally see myself, like, going back to this without shifting screens. Okay, we look like we're alright. Okay, I was like, why do I look so, like, bad? It's because I'm on 240p. There we go, that looks better. If you guys don't like the blue face, I mean, like, I can fix it, but I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. Okay. Machiko Handa. Or Kanda, Truth Seeker. Okay. 3 and a white for a 2/2. Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you, that player sacrifices a permanent. Oh! Huh? A source? Isn't that each creature? Am I getting it wrong and thinking that that's each creature? I'm picking one of those up for Yorion. That is a cool Pillow Fort card. Rafine, of course, like, that's going to be your, like, main scout. That's going to be your Tivit's, like, main scout that flies around the cathedral and makes sure everything's alright. Rafine Scheming Seer is a white, blue, and a black for a 1/4. Flying, ward 1. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature connives X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Rafine's great. My brother runs a Rafine Reanimator deck that is really, really cool. It's one of my favorite decks that we've worked on. So, really fun card. I think it's dropped in price, like, significantly as well. Yeah, $2. Scheming Fence. I think I just read this card the other day and really liked it, if I'm not mistaken. White and a blue for a 2/3. As Scheming Fence enters the battlefield, you may choose a non-land permanent. Activated abilities of the chosen permanent can't be activated. Scheming Fence has all activated abilities of the chosen permanent, except for loyalty abilities. You may spend mana as though it were any color to activate those abilities. Scheming Fence is awesome. This is the card I saw the other day. This is like quickly becoming one of my favorite Azorius cards. I do not like Azorius really at all. I have a Yorion deck, and that's about as far as I'll go into the Azorius thing, and that's not even really like control-y or detain or like board wipes or anything. It's just blink. And even that deck's lower on the list of like enjoyable decks for me. But this card is like there's certain cards that'll turn me on to a whole color or a whole section of the color pie just for like finding out they exist. What's the one that I just put into? I put one into Scarab God that I really like. It's a blue card, and it's really like it's turning me on to like running blue in my decks more. Yeah, Ghostly Pilferer. So good. 1 in a blue for a 2/1. Whenever Ghostly Pilferer becomes untapped, you can pay 2 and draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. Discard a card. Ghostly Pilferer can't be blocked this turn. Super good. It gives you card advantage. The best thing, though, is just anything being played from anywhere but your hand. Like, anyone plays a commander, you draw a card. Someone's running a Muldrotha deck, you draw a card. Someone flashbacks, you draw a card. It's like a 6, maybe. But yeah, and this is another one of those type cards where I find it, and I'm like, I kind of like Azorius more now. And the fact that I can run both of those in the same deck, those are my type of effects right there. Send triplets. This is sick. Oh my gosh. How do I read this thing? Let's see. Send triplets. How much does send triplets cost? Oh, right there. 2, a white, a black, and a blue for a 3/3. Legendary. Artifact, creature, human, wizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. This turn, that player can't cast spells or activate abilities and plays with their hands revealed. You may play lands and cast spells from their hand this turn. Classic control card. This is one of the OG, like, scary decks when Commander first started being a thing. Sly Instigator. I don't think I've ever seen this card. 3 and a blue for a 2/4. Pay a blue and tap it. Until your next turn, target creature and opponent controls can't be blocked. Goad that creature. Oh. This seems great in here. Again, so looping back to the Master of Ceremonies, this deck seems super good at like tricking your opponents into thinking they're enemies with each other. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you voted money, you motherfucker. You didn't vote friends. And then the guy's like, what? You got, instead of getting a treasure, we got 1/1s. It's not even that big of a deal. It just like subconsciously feels like worse to pick like money. And then stuff like this where you're forcing people to attack people, they're gonna be like, dude. And then they're going to be like, that's not me, he forced me to attack. Yeah, but it's your creature, you're playing all the big stuff. I just feel like you trick each other into fighting each other. This seems super fun to play. Spelltithe Enforcer's one that I just saw too. 3 and 2 white for a 3/3. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, that player sacrifices a permanent unless they pay 1. That seems good. I love making people tap mana. It's like my favorite thing. The Council of 4. 3 a white and a blue. This is sweet. This reminds me of the Gorosei. Is that the name in One Piece? It's a 0/8. Whenever a player draws their second card during their turn, you draw a card. Whenever a player casts their second spell during their turn, you create a 2/2 knight. This card's awesome. The Council of 4 is so cool. I'm going to save that. That actually kind of seems like a me deck as well. Xanathar Guild Kingpin. Blue, black, and a 4-color list for a 5/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. Until the end of your turn, that player can't cast spells. You may look at the top card of their library anytime. You may play the top card of their library. You may spend mana as though were any mana to cast that card. This is pretty much just an a new age version of Send Triplets. I won't say upgraded. It doesn't have access to white. It's a slightly different card. But this is like a new 2.0 version of Send Triplets for like the modern Commander meta, I guess is the word. But super cool card. Xanathar is really, really good. I remember when that first got spoiled for this set, people were freaking out. They were like, this is going to be like so good. This sucks. And it didn't really turn out being that big of a thing. Zur the Enchanter, on the other hand, is that big of a thing. 1, a white, a blue, and a black for a 1/4 flying. When Zur the Enchanter attacks, you may search your library for an enchantment card with mana value 3 or less, put it into the battlefield, then shuffle. Zur's cool. He's like probably the only other one I've seen so far where I'm not sure about like fitting in with what the deck's doing and with the flavor of the deck if he necessarily works. Zur and Geode Golem are the only two so far. Everything else is sick. This looks like a blast to play. Bolas' Citadel I love because I imagine that like Tivet's like in this, like inside some kind of place like this, just like posted up. 3 and 3 black for a legendary artifact. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast the top card of your library and spend your life instead of mana cost on it. And then you can tap it and sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10. Bolas of Citadel will win a game all by itself, which is why it's in his win conditions page. Aether Wrought Page. 1, a white, a blue, and a black for an artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one. You gain 2 life, or look at the top card of your library. Then you may put that card into your graveyard, or each opponent loses 1 life. Aether Wrought Page. It's just, I feel like it's just Esper, is why it kind of fits in here. But like, even then, it's like, I don't think it's that necessary. Midnight Clock's great. I think this fits the aesthetic of this deck perfect. It feels like this, like the clock striking midnight, and Tivet's like, okay, everybody come back to base. We're gonna see what info we got for the day. Like, I definitely like Midnight Clock. 2 and a blue for an artifact. Tap it, add 1 blue. 2 and a blue. Put an hour counter on Midnight Clock. At the beginning of each upkeep, put an hour counter on Midnight Clock. When the 12th hour counter is put on Midnight Clock, shuffle your hand and graveyard into your deck. Draw 7, exile Midnight Clock. So this card seems like it's gonna take forever to play or to get off. I played it yesterday in a game and got it off the turn after it came out. So I played it, and I had 6 open mana, so I passed to my opponent, 1, passed to the next opponent, 2, passed to the next opponent, 3. At the end of their turn, dumped 6 mana for 2 more. My upkeep, 1, dumped 2 more mana into it, boom, dropped the freaking Basalt Monolith for 3, so I guess it wasn't 2 turns. But it goes up extraordinarily quickly. Like, this card goes up insanely fast. Like, you don't think it's going to hit 12 that quick. It takes maybe 1-2 turns to hit 12, especially in a 4-way game. Yeah, Mox Diamond, good mana ramp, Soul Ring, good mana ramp, Tamiyo's Journal, 5 colorless for a legendary artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate, tap it, sacrifice 3 clues, search your library for a card, and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. That seems great. Late game, you just get to tutor up your win cons. Seems good. Time Sieve, again, another probably win con in here, I'm assuming. Black and a blue for an artifact, tap it, sacrifice 5 artifacts, take an extra turn after this one. It's a good card. Dakin Shadowslayer is another really good card. I don't think this sees nearly enough play. Black, blue, white for a 0 loyalty planeswalker that enters with an amount of loyalty equal to the number of lands you control. So turn 5, it has 5, 6, 7 loyalties easily, which is crazy good. +1, Surveil 2. -3, exile target creature. -6, you may put an artifact card from your graveyard or from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. You get to cheat out Blightsteel Colossuses. You get to fix your draws. You get to remove stuff. It comes out with a lot more loyalty than the amount of mana you pay for it most of the time. Dakin's great. I love Dakin. And he seems like he'd be like the number, like the right-hand man to Tivit. Lands, I'm not a huge fan of going over in these, unless there's something that's like specifically good in this kind of build. Having Goals Laboratory is great. Pay 4, tap it to investigate. We're always trying to investigate in this deck. At the beginning of your end step, if you sacrifice 3 or more clues, you get to transform it. So that's actually really good in here. Transforms to Having Goal Mastery. Legendary land. When this land transforms into Having Goal Mastery, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. When the creature put onto the battlefield with Having Goal Mastery leaves the battlefield, transform Having Goal Mastery. Pay 1 life, add a black. This is probably one of my new favorite lands. This is so good. Just a Reanimator land? Yes, sir. How much is it? You ain't gonna tell me, huh? We got ways of making you talk, land. And the rest seem pretty to par. Yeah, okay. Let's go to enchantments. Equilibrium, 1 and 2 blue for an enchantment. Whenever you successfully cast a creature spell, you may pay 1 to return target creature to its owner's hand. Oh, I want to save that one too. I really like Equilibrium. That seems nasty. Ghostly Prison, one of my favorite cards of all time. 2 and a white for an enchantment. Creatures have to pay 2 mana to attack you. Super good. Hold for Questioning. 3 and a blue for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature or planeswalker. When Hold for Questioning enters the battlefield, tap enchant permanent and investigate. Enchant permanent doesn't untap during its controller's untap step, and its abilities can't be activated. This is just pretty much straight up removal in this deck that gives you a clue, and it's in flavor, so for sure. Intruder Alarm is such a good one in here. I'm so happy you put this in there. This is so to flavor. It's a powerful card. This is like chef's kiss. Perfect in this deck. 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Creatures don't untap during their untap step, and then whenever a creature enters the battlefield, untap all creatures. Just a super solid card. It gives pretty much all your creatures pseudo vigilance, which in this deck when you're trying to get in is pretty good. There's a bunch of combos with this card. I don't know if there's any in this deck, but very good card. Law Mage's Binding, again, super flavorful. 1 a white and a blue for an enchantment aura. Flash, enchant creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Lawmage Binding is still a super good card. I don't know why this doesn't see play. 3 mana for a flash thing that'll just completely get a creature off the board. And like in budget EDH, that seems really good. And for aesthetic and lore, I guess. What's the word I'm looking for? Vorthos. Boom. Light Minefield. 2 and 2 white for an enchantment. Whenever one or more creatures attacks, Light Minefield deals damage to each of those attacking creatures equal to the number of attacking creatures. No way! Light Minefield's nasty. I need to pick up one of those too for Yorion. That's great. Martial Law. 2 and 2 white for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, detain target creature and opponent controls. Until your next turn, that creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. That's okay. Martial Law's alright. But in the like lore and in the vibe of this deck, it's perfect. Mechanized Production, that's another one of your win cons. 2 and 2 blue, enchant artifact you control at the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted artifact. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name, you win the game. That's a definite win con. Murder Investigation, 1 and a white for an enchantment or an enchant creature you control. When enchanted creature dies, put X11 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield where X is its power. I actually just put this into one of my Voltron builds I was trying out, and it is a really cool enchantment, because if your big creature dies, you just get a bunch of stuff to flood the board, so. And it fits the vibe of the deck for sure. Propaganda is just a blue Ghostly Prison. Rhystic Study for sure. 2 and a blue, whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless they pay 1. Classic, one of the best cards in Magic. Smothering Tithe, speaking of best cards. Whoa. Hey, you think you can play ads during my video? Nah. Smothering Tithe, 3 and a white. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If the player doesn't, you create a treasure token. Extremely good. Steal Artifact, 2 and 2 blue to rip, just literally steal an artifact. Classic card. This is like an actual OG Magic card. Trail of Evidence, 2 and a blue. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, investigate. That seems great. That's exactly what we want to be doing. Okay, so an offer you can't refuse is right on par, right on theme. 1 blue for an instant counter target non-creature spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. Just a good counter spell. Consider some good card fixing. Disorder in the Courts. X a blue and a white for an instant. Exile X target creatures, then investigate X times. Return the exiled creatures into the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So you just get to blink X things and then you investigate X times. That seems really good in here. Oh my god, that seems really good in here. Especially if you can blink Tivit to investigate again. Do the vote thing. That seems really good. Dovin's Veto. White and a blue for an instant. This spell can't be countered. Counter target non-creature spell. Dovin's Veto is great. Enlightened Tutor is a classic tutor. Ephemerate, 1 white to blink a creature. It just seems good to be able to blink Tivit and just get a vote if you need one. Heliod's Intervention is great. X and 2 white. Destroy X enchantments or artifacts, or target player gains X twice X life. Heliod's Intervention is a great card. Maybe not necessarily on flavor, but it is very good. Make Disappear. 1 in the blue for a casualty 1. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. It's an interesting counter spell because you can copy it so you can counter 2 things on the stack if you casualty it, but super on flavor though. Mandate of Peace, 1 and a white for an instant. Cast the spell only during combat. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn. End the combat phase. I like it. No, nothing's going to happen on that turn. Mission Briefing, 2. This seems perfect flavor. 2 blue for an instant. Surveil 2. Then choose an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. Ooh. Wow, that seems really good, actually. Yeah, Mission Breathing sounds like actually a really good card. Silence, classic. 1 white, your opponents can't cast spells this turn. Silence is very annoying. Spy Network, 1 blue for an instant. Look at target player's hand, the top card of that player's library, and any face-down creatures they control. Look at the top 4 cards of your library and put them back in any order. It's super on flavor. It's not the worst card either. Teferi's Protection, super on flavor. Seems like you'd be able to hire out like people to protect you and all your goons. 2 and a white for an instant. Until end of turn, your life total can't change. You gain protection from everything, and all your permanents phase out. Teferi's Protection is one of the best cards of all time. Turnabout, 2 and 2 blue for an instant. Tap or untap all artifact creatures and lands target player controls. Turnabout seems great. It almost seems like you're like blackmailing them. You're like, it'd be a shame if something happened to these lands. Void Rend, white, blue, black for an instant. This spell can't be countered. Destroy target online permanent. That's super solid removal, honestly. Another piece of another win con here. Approach of the Second Sun, 6 in a white. If Approach of the Second Sun was cast from your hand, and you've cast another spell called Approach of the Second Sun this game, you win the game. Otherwise, put Approach of the Second Sun as 7 cards from the top of your library and then gain 7 life. So if you play this twice, you win. Library of Latnam. I've never seen this. 4 and a blue for a sorcery. A target opponent chooses 1. You draw 3 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. Or you search your library for a card, put that into your hand, then shuffle your library. Ooh. That's kind of a cool card, like a little budget like tutor for blue. I actually really like that card. Merciless Eviction's really good board wipe. Ponder's super good vixing, and then Supreme Verdict, super good board wipe. Sideboard here, so these are cards that it looks like he's thinking of running in the deck. Preordain, yeah, not sure. Search for the Premises, 3 and a white. Whenever a creature attacks you or a creature you control, investigate. That seems fantastic. Search the Premises needs to go in there for sure. Azor's Electors. I love. It sounds like a robot. I love this card. Yeah, this is one where you win the game if you have enough of the filibuster counters. You have enough win cons, I think. Active Authority, Arrest, Conjured Currency, Disinformation Campaign, Enhanced Surveillance, In Too Deep. I like all these. These all fit the flavor so much. Whispering Snitch, Foul Play. I like all these. These are all really super cool. So the only cards that I would think you might consider taking out just for like flavor and maybe not necessarily working the best in the deck, mainly flavor, would be Heliod's Intervention. I don't really think the gods and stuff kind of fit the flavor per se. And then there's one other one down here. Zur the Enchanter. So Zur the Enchanter, Geode Golem, and Heliod's Intervention are seriously the only 3 cards that kind of took me out of the theme of the deck. Everything else is super on theme, and you clearly have a bunch of stuff that you could swap those out with. So this deck is cool. I've literally have never really played a Vorthos deck. I'm not like a lore or like themed based deck in this way. But it's super cool to see people build this way. Because you know Magic's design team designs a certain way to where they're like, the investigators and the detectives and stuff all kind of work together. They do a clue thing. So Vorthos players still do have decks that actually run very well, even though they're all on theme, because most of the time that's how the design team makes Magic cards anyway. This is super cool. Love this thing. If you want to buy this deck, you're looking at $975, which I'm confused what from. It has to be just like lands. Because nothing, a Mox Diamond probably. Mox Diamond and lands, I would assume. Super cool deck though. This looks like a blast to play. Like I said, it looks like it tricks your opponents into like thinking they're enemies. And you just kind of like sit back as a mastermind, which seems very on brand for Tivit. So, love this thing. If you guys want to send me a deck, just email me at lightshallow.com or lightshallow@gmail.com. It should be down in the description. Just send me a little small paragraph of like a sum up of what your deck does and what you're trying to do, why you made it, stuff like that. And we'll review it on one of these things. We'll add it to the queue. Anyway, guys, much love. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Go check out my upload. There is an upload over on the channel that just uploaded probably 30 minutes ago. So if you want to go check that out, it's like 10 cards that are super powerful for under $10. There's some stuff on there that just dropped just below $10 in the last like 4 or 5 days. So if you want to go check that out for some fresh new pickups for your Commander decks, do that. Anyway, guys, much love, and go play some Magic. I'm going to go see what all the hubbub